Hello there, and I hope you're all keeping well. So welcome to this, what I'm calling a how I paint video, as opposed to say a painting tutorial, so to speak. I've been away on holiday, and whilst I was away, as you do, you start to miss your hobby a bit. So I ordered a few bits and bobs. So while just got back, HMS Speedy has arrived from Warlord. It's part of my growing Black Seas collection, and I thought I'd give it a go in terms of putting it together, giving it a bit of a spray up and a bit of a paint, and show you what I've been doing. Now, this is not, my channel is not about painting really. I'm not a bad painter. I would say I'm a decent tabletop standard. But if you're looking for expert tips and hints, then this is not for you. But I have also had quite a few requests or messages from guys out there saying, can you show me how you're doing some of your painting? So I thought, fair enough, I'll use this as an opportunity to do that. Now I do use different methods. I do use standard paints and also some of the contrast speed paints that you can get, depending on what I'm doing. Now for Black Seas, I have been using the contrast paints from Citadel. So I'm going to be using that for this. So again, it's a very straightforward paint scheme. It's only a small ship anyway, so hopefully you'll find this quite useful though, in terms of what colours I'm using, and etc, etc. In terms of all the sails and rigging, if you've watched one of my previous Black Seas content, I don't tend to do all the fancy rigging. I do a little bit, but as it's not a main game that I play, I haven't got the patience, to be honest, to be doing all the fancy detailed rigging. It's quite difficult to do. So I just do some basic rigging, get the sails on, get a decent paint job, and it's on the game. For me, it's all about playing the game. I think if it was one of my main games that I played all the time, I'd probably spend a little bit more time on doing the rigging and things like that. But as it's not, I'm quite happy with that. So HMS Speedy, just a quick overview. So it's only a small ship, it's a brig, so it's only a 14-gun brig, but very colourful history. Some really nice detail in here in the Black Seas supplement that you get, Hold Fast. Just talks about the fact that it was obviously a British ship, then captured by the French, and then recaptured by the British, and then captured again by the French. So a bit of a colourful history. So you can actually play it as either British or French, but as I'm from the UK, it's going to be the Royal Navy. So I'll be painted up in the Royal Navy colours. It's got some nice little rules for the game. So yeah. I'll turn the camera around and we'll show you what's in the box and go from there. Okay, so let's look at what you get in the box. So firstly, you get this standard kind of card set from Warlord. So you've got your damage chart specific for HMS Speedy, which is good, so you know which one it is when it's on the table. You get all your markers there, your sails are there, your rigging, and you also get a nice set of flag markers and ensigns for her. Again, she's a standard brig, so she's just got the same two large cannons, 20 damage points, same speed, etc. And obviously in the book, Hold Fast, you've got the special rules for her as well. So that's that. And then in terms of the model itself, there's not much to it, to be honest. It's very small, it's only a brig. So you've got the metal cast hull, which is great. There's no glue in here, it's all one cast. I tend to put just a magnet. I'll drill a hole later in this and just put a small magnet in there, because when I store mine on magnetic sheets, stops them all bashing together, particularly because the sails are cardboard, so a little bit delicate. Then you get your two masts. You got your main mast and your foremast, which I need to stick on. Just clean those up. You get your bowsprit for the front, and then your timbers for the sails, etc. So that's what you get. So it's not a lot, so it won't take long to do. And also you get your reel of cotton that you get with every ship. I've got tons of these bloody things now. I'm only going to use a very tiny amount of that just for some basic rigging. So yeah, so what I'll do is I'll assemble HMS Speedy, and then we'll come back for a look at her after that. Okay, and there she is. So HMS Speedy, all ready to go. So didn't take too long. I'm just waiting for that super glue just to completely dry, because I've got to straighten the mast slightly, but I'm just waiting for it to completely dry before I do that. So as I said, I'm going to be using contrast paints from Citadel. So what I'm going to do now, I do a zenithal highlight, which is basically a black undercoat, and then a top-down spray of a lighter grey, and then dry brush of white. So what I'll do now, I'll do the black undercoat, and then I'll come back after that. Okay, so that's the black undercoat done. Now the zenithal effects, there's loads of different ways of doing this. People use airbrushes, all sorts. I haven't got an airbrush, so I just use a rattle can. So I just use this Citadel Grey Seer. And again, you could just literally spray the model with that, because I'm using contrast paints anyway, so you could just spray it with grey cera or a grey paint or a white primer and just go over the top of that. I just like using this method. It's just the way I do it, but there's different ways people do it. This is the way I do it. So when you're using a rattle can, you're just basically spraying it at a kind of a 45-degree angle, just short spurts. Basically just keeps some of that dark black underneath for shadow. Just like the way that looks. So, okay, I'll do that next and come back. Okay, so that's the grey cera applied, and as you can see, it's starting to brighten up the model now, and you've got those, you can see the shadowing underneath from the previous black spray. So the final thing to do, just going to give it a little bit of a dry brush with white around some of the top edges, particularly on the deck, and that again will just help to pick up on the contrast paints when I do those, so I'm just going to do that now. Okay, so for the white dry brush, I've just got an old brush here. You can use any old white paint you've got, and you're just kind of picking up the top edges of this. It's also quite good for the sails, because the sails were kind of white anyway, so this kind of almost finishes off what you need to do on the sails. I'm just doing the tops of here, just where some of the light will come down from the top edges there, and on top of here, and just around the sides. I'm not too bothered about the underneath because I want to keep that dark, but just giving some of these side bits a go as well. And I've got only a little bit of white on here, so just giving a quick dry brush across. And that's pretty much done now, I think. So some of these edges as well. I think that will do for the purposes of this particular model. Okay, so that's the, so let's go off the stand there. So that's the dry brushing done. So I'll come back for the first proper colour. Okay, so the first paint I'm going to use is Black Templar. Now on the Warlord Games website there is a picture of HMS Speedy in the colour scheme, and also in the rule book you get some nice idea of colour schemes for the different navies used to use. And for the Royal Navy they do use black around the hull areas, also on some of the mast areas. So we'll apply that first, so let's get on with that. Okay, so I use a kind of medium brush for this. Just put some on the tip. It's very easy to apply, you obviously just go around some of the... Now again, I don't do painting videos, now you can see why. I've not really got the setup for it. So what I'll do is I'll just show you where I'm putting this, just to give you a starter idea of what I'm doing. And then, as you see, I think the main thing to understand, I think, with applying contrast paint is, you just put a bit on your brush and it just flows across and just spreading it out. It's quite straightforward, really. And the natural highlighting does its work. And as I say, because the bottom part of this is fairly dark anyway, it's going to be slightly darker when you look down on it as well. So I'm just going below the rim of that planking here. That's going to be yellow when it's finished, so we'll just keep applying that along here. And then just around the front area as well. Just around to there. Okay, so I'll keep applying that around the ship now, and I'll come back when that's finished. Okay, so that's the black done. So as you can see, I've done below the hull line. There's just a bit around the top here. Also, the good news is because the cannons are black, you can do the cannons at the same time. And I've just done various bits around the masts. As you can see, got this little black detail around there, which is just picking up on the raised edges there. Just do need a little bit of a steady hand for that bit, but that didn't take too long. And the contrast paints, as you can see already, you can see some of the highlights. It's a little bit more grey where the white's been. Okay, so that's the first colour done, so let's go on to the next. Okay, so the next colour is going to be Nazdrag Yellow. I've been using this one for the Royal Navy ships. That's going to cover basically in between the black here and the rest of the masts. So I'll go into that now. And again, I'm using my medium brush. So again, just a bit of yellow on there. Now the good thing about this is just going to go in between the black. If you do spill over a little bit, it's fine because you've got the black to go onto, so you don't really see it if you do spill over a little bit. Again, decent amount. What I found using contrast paints, you kind of find a happy medium about how much you put on your brush. Some of them need a little bit more, some a little bit less, so it depends on the colour. This yellow one goes on quite nice with a decent amount on your brush. I'm leaving those steps there. I'll do them in a slightly different colour. Not steps, sorry, it's probably rope, isn't it? Or ladders to go onto the boat. And let's get this in here as well. Go around to there. And again, I'll finish off off camera just so to see what I'm doing. So I'll finish the rest off and come back. Okay, so that's the Nazdrag Yellow applied. I quite like it because it's kind of warm. It's kind of a warm yellow to it. It's more of a bit more of an orangey yellow, I guess. I just like that for the ships there. So just filled in the sides there, and the masts and the bowsprit there. So not a lot to do really. It's not too, didn't take too long again. Okay, so over to the next colour. Right, so the next colour is Blood Angels Red. And that's to do the inside panels of the ship. So these will run it down the inside of here. So needs a bit of a steady hand because you want to try and avoid getting it onto the actual deck itself because the deck will have a different colour. So it's just going literally into these areas here between the guns. So I'll do that next. Okay, and again I'm using my medium brush on the end, and then literally if you tip the ship that way, let's see if we can get the camera, then literally you're just kind of stroke going down to using your tip to touch the bottom where it joins. And that just helps to get in there without getting between the guns like that. So just tip the boat or the ship that way. It is a little bit awkward in some of these corners, but again I'll do that and then I'll come back. There you go. So the inside panels are done now. The red's still drying a little bit. So you can see the ship's starting to come together a bit now. So over to the next colour. Okay, so the next colour is going to be contrast Aggaros Dunes, and that's going to be for the main deck. Just avoiding the little boat there and also some of the hatches, which will be a different colour. So I'll come back and do that. Okay, so here we go. So some Aggaros Dunes. Now this one, you can be a little bit liberal with this one. It needs a bit more on your brush that I've found than other ones. You need to get a little bit more, a little bit thicker. And it doesn't matter if it's a little bit patchy because, you know, the deck would get worn as well. So it's just good to, knocking the whole thing there, sorry, not good at this painting tutorial malarkey. So you're just getting it on the deck itself there. Again, not worrying too much about being too thick, and again, just avoiding the boat this side. And then again, you have to just come across this way and approach it from this angle when you want to do in between the guns that way. So I'll finish that off and then I'll come back. Okay, so that's the Aggaros Dunes completed, and you can see I think it gives it a nice light timber feel, sort of a light wood, and again I've been a bit patchy in areas to try and just show a bit of variation as decks would wear. So that's the deck almost completed. So over to the next colour. Okay, so the next colour is going to be Wyldewood, and that's going to be for some of these hatches, and also going to do these kind of ladders in the Wyldewood as well. Okay, so over to that next. Again, medium brush. Again, this one needs a little bit more paint on than some. I like it to get into the recesses a little bit. Again, go a little bit delicate around the edge of these hatches. Like that. And we've got the ones up here as well. Okay, and just try and get down into those depths there. So let me finish those off and I'll come back. Okay, so that's the Wyldewood applied to those hatches and to the side ladders there. So that's pretty much all of the deck done. All the painting, etc. for the wood. So next thing I want to do is just do the final colour for the boat and for the sails. Now you could leave them like that because they are going to be white anyway. And as you can see with the Zenithal, it's got some depth to it anyway. But I like to just add a little bit more through using this Apothecary White, which isn't actually a white, it's more of a like a grey, basically gives a bit more depth to the colour basically. It's like a light grey, but it's called Apothecary White. So I'll just apply that. Okay, so again, just medium brush. Now what I do with this one, I tend to be a bit lighter touch with this than the others. And just the good thing about contrast paints, you just kind of just get it all over the area you're looking at. Again, all this does just really enhances the shadows that you've got. When it dries, it just gives a bit more of a depth to it, and again for the boat as well, especially for the inside of the boat, it will just give a bit more depth to that. Yeah, before, like I say, you don't have to do that bit, but yeah, there we go. So that's the grey. So let's just let that dry and I'll come back. So guys, so HMS Speedy is getting there now, so we're getting into the final stages. As you can see, it doesn't take too long to do. Like I say, you could do loads of highlights, you could do whatever you want with this. This is just how I do it. I think once these are down on the table, they look pretty good as they are. But got some metallics to do, so I've got 2 anchors, and also I've got the small figurehead here. So what I'm going to first do is just apply this, it's Metal Alchemy, and this is actually black metal. From scale 75, and so this is going to go onto the anchor and also just lit up into the figurehead, so we'll do that next. And again, just taking my medium brush and just applying that onto the anchor first. This takes pretty well on top of the zenithal as well. I'll do that, and also I'm just going to do the little figurehead here, which I'll just start off here. Now, I am going to do this in a gold afterwards, but I do like to start with the metal colour, only because I think it just takes the gold a little bit better than just straight onto the undercoat there. So yes, I'll just finish that off and then I'll come back. Okay, so that's the anchor and the figure done. I've also just gone over the Speedy sign here at the back, where it says Speedy, so I've just done the 2 anchors. And I'm just going to let that dry, and then I'm going to apply this colour gold, which is Necro Gold, again from scale 75, and that's going to go into the figurehead and also across the Speedy name there. So I'll apply that next. Okay, but as you imagine, this isn't going to take too long, so just going to come into the figurehead here, and on this side. Okay, and then just across the back, and literally just because of the size of this, you just literally take as much excess off your brush as possible, and literally just try and brush over the top, almost like a little dry brush with it, like that, and that just picks up on the name there. I mean, you're not even going to see it. You can imagine once that's on the table, you'll never see that, but there we go. I know that detail's there. Okay, so we're almost there now. So let me let that dry and come back. Okay, so that's the gold applied. Now the only other thing I'm going to do now, and again you don't necessarily need to do this, but I just like to dull that metal down a bit. So I just apply a bit of the shade Nuln Oil across the gold and the anchors. So I'll just do that. I'll do that off camera because it only takes 2 seconds to do, and I'll come back when that's dried. Okay, there's HMS Speedy all finished, just ready for flags, rat lines and rigging. As you can see, it's a very simple paint scheme, guys. I mean, like I say, this is just how I do it. You could do a lot more detail, different types of colours if you wanted to. You could spend more time on some of the highlighting and stuff. But for what I do and what I play, and once this is down on the table, it looks absolutely fine to me and didn't take too long to do at all. And just to give you an idea of what the next, I'll show you the next steps, but here's a sister ship. This is HMS Revenge. It's almost finished. So as you can see, it's using very much, using the same colour scheme as the Speedy, and just got a bit more red on the gun hatches there. And as you can see, I've got very simple rigging. So the rigging can be a lot more complicated for this all the way through here. I just literally take it over the top like that, so I can get these sails on here, and also it gives me a chance then to put some pennants on, and I'll do a little bit of the rigging here, just so I can get a flag on there. So that's that. This is an earlier version. This is one of the frigates where I've got the rat lines on as well. But as you can see, I've not bothered with the rigging on that one, and I've just basically stuck the flags on, and that looks absolutely fine on the tabletop. And just for the French, this is the Argonaut, and I just use a slightly higher yellow. So I use I think it's Imperial Fist, yeah, Imperial Fist yellow for the French. All the rest of the colours are the same, and again, that's Ultramarines blue for the blue areas. But again, I use the same Aggaros Dunes, the Wyldewood, the Black Templar for those. That's one of the French ships. Again, just finished the paint job, just starting to work on the rigging now. So, okay, so I'll come back. I'll start with the get some rigging on, and we'll go from there. Okay, so that is literally how I do my rigging. So it's very simple. There is a much more complicated way of doing this. If you go into the rule book for Black Seas, and in fact there's some channels, I did some YouTube searches, and there's a couple of guys out there actually showed you how to fully rig these. But as I said, I'm not too fussed about that. So all I do is I just put a bit of super glue on the ends here, and then literally just wrap the cotton round and let it set. And then basically, once it's set, I'll just cut these little threads off. And that's for a flag at the back. So if you look at this ship here, you'll see it here. So that's just so I can get the flag on the back there like that. And then I go over the top. And again, I just literally put a bit of glue here. Again, just wind it round. And then bring that round here. Again, a bit of glue on there, wrap it round. And a bit of glue on there, wrap it around. And basically once the glue is set, the super glue, I'm just going to snip these bits off. And that's enough. And again, all that's there to do is to get that front sail on. On the bigger ships I do 2, just to get the 2 on, but for this smaller one, for the Speedy, I'm just going to do 1 of those 4 sails. Okay, so what I'll do is the next, I'll let that dry off. And then I'll be putting the sails on. So I'll come back after that. Okay, so the sails are on. Again, by the way, I'm not showing me doing this because there's no way I could keep my hands in front of the camera because you have to get right in on these models, move them around. Not easy. I use some tweezers as well. But just the process really, you just bend them to fit, because you've got to fit round these little crow's nests or whatever you want to call them. So you can't put them on the flat. And also it looks like they've got wind in the sails as well. So you just got to bend them. I dry fit them like that. And then I just put a dab of glue, super glue on each end. And then basically you just use your tweezers and you just lower them into place. And if you use decent super glue, I use a gel super glue, then it grips pretty quickly. If you use normal super glue, it can drip, which you don't want. And then the one on the back, similar, you just bend it in like that and just fits in between the back there. And then that little one here just literally glues onto the string there, onto the cotton. So that is the sails done for HMS Speedy. So the next job is the really difficult one. It's getting the rat lines on. These are little plastic rat lines that fit on the sides of the sails here. Not an easy job, but again, I'll get that done now and come back. Okay, so the super glue is a little bit still wet, but the rat lines are now on. You can see it's still a bit wet. Now what I use for this is this glass super glue, because it doesn't, if you use normal super glue, it goes all white and misty. Now it's not a problem. I have had that happen before, and all I do is get a bit of the black Templar and just kind of colour in the bottom of the rat lines. You can't really tell from a distance that you've done that. And to be honest with you, I probably will be going around touching up a little bit. You can see where it's a bit glossy there from the super glue. So again, I'll just run some black Templar over that and it just darkens it down again. So again, it's useful for contrast paint. You can just literally put a little bit on your brush and just go around. It's a little bit on the foremast here, on the bowsprit there. So yeah, so almost done. So now I've just got to put a couple of flags on, and HMS Speedy is almost ready for action. Right, let's do that. Okay, so there she is. There's HMS Speedy, all finished and ready for battle. So I've got the flags on there. And as you can see, she fits in nicely with her sister ships around her in the fleet. It's a nice, easy job, I think. In fact, I think the masts, the rigging, and the sails, etc., all that takes longer than the actual painting. So and the rat lines, etc., all that takes longer actually getting her painted. But I think when she's down on the table, I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think she looks okay to me, and I say it fits in quite nicely with the rest of the fleet as it's growing. So okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Again, any comments, leave it down in this comment section for me. It was useful to get some feedback on things. Like I say, you could do a lot more with these models. You could do a lot more detail, a lot more rigging, but I think for what I do and what I play, I think this is a decent kind of tabletop standard anyway. All right, guys, well, I hope you keep yourself safe, and I'll catch you all very soon.